Welcome back, YouTube. So in this video, I want to point out a couple things that are happening here that I believe is going to be very important going forward as we kind of have like the break between like the institutional chosen coins and the coins that are going to be will really just offer a lot of opportunity for retail. And something I just noticed here recently was if we're looking at the top 10. First of all, XRP has exploded. It is literally number three now, still about a huge ways from taking over Ethereum, but it certainly has exploded here recently. We were talking about this and looking at it over the last few days, and up now over the last 7 days is up around 16%. But if we exclude the wraparound token of BNB, the only two coins, again, we have stable coins and all that, but the only two coins that are actually green in the top 10 are XRP and Dogecoin. And I thought that was very interesting because now we have this is something that we talked about a ways back. We're looking at some of the higher price coins and like law of diminishing returns. And I'm not saying that by any stretch of imagination that Bitcoin or Ethereum or anywhere near that like a peak or they're not going to continue to appreciate. But outside of having substantial amounts of money, as these numbers grow and as these cycles continue to progress, the multiplier there, unless you already have a lot of money, it diminishes. Like you're not going to see, like 1,000% return on a cycle or something like that for something like a Bitcoin or you'll be still be able to see or appreciate those gains. But when you have like cheaper priced assets, people are allowed to get more coins. Their coin count is able to actually reflect into that, and that multiplier can be astronomical. And I believe that's what's happening when you look at things like XRP and Dogecoin. I think that is kind of going to be like the retail sector, and they're going to push into these coins here. So I think even what we're having now is we're having kind of like a institutions going to have like their Bitcoin, their Ethereum, their Solana, and they have like their like we talked about the like their S&P 500. I think that we're seeing that portfolio kind of build out here for retail investors, where they're like, okay, well, this is going to be my my Microsoft and my Apple and we starting to see that retail portfolio kind of build out, where we're seeing that those allocation of funds kind of come over and be in those positions. Now I know that we have I believe they have to file a motion by tomorrow for the Ripple lawsuit and stuff like that. So I'll update that as once we get more information, we can kind of talk about that. But I believe this is a great positioning happening here going forward, and I think this is noteworthy for the community and for retailers to kind of gauge this this divergence here in crypto, and really just the importance of not letting necessarily institutions completely choose where the money goes and just kind of chasing the coattails. You're going to see that multiplier. People actually sit here and say, "Hey, we're going to." Take a position in crypto, but also we're taking a position not only with quality, but also we're keeping that multiplier in mind here, because obviously we're trying to make money, so we're not necessarily just going to say, oh well, look at BlackRock and Vanguard, they're heavily focused on Bitcoin, so we're not going to just buy Bitcoin. We're going to find other coins of value, but give us that that return that people were able to see once they got into like a Bitcoin in like 2012 or something like that. So obviously I own Bitcoin as well. So again, not saying Bitcoin is finished. I believe we have a long ways to go with Bitcoin in this cycle, but I wanted to point that out because that really stood out to me looking at the charts here, especially on CoinMarketCap. So getting into the video, we are up, I believe, around 2.35%, 3.35 trillion market cap here. Still cooled off here. We're around 46, dropped from 48 here on the Fear of Greed Index. So overall, the market is pretty cool. And like I said, most of these assets here on the 7-day are red, except for a couple of them, right? So, excluding any wraparound tokens or stable coins. So I think this is very telling here of what's happening here, kind of like behind the scenes. So we're going to take a look here at some charts, and I will take a look at XRP as well. I know that's been heavily requested topic here, so I will do that. Let's go. Let's take a look here. So I'm going to switch over to trading view. Just give me one sec. I don't know why it didn't pop up like it should have, but we'll do it the old-fashioned way. So let's go Doge USD first, and then we will transition over here. Matter of fact, let's switch this chart here. Let's go to super charts. There we go. I don't know why it didn't pop up the first time. So this is what we were looking for as far as waiting on the confirmation candles here and filling out those gap zones. It's something we've been talking about with Doge. This has happened. We were able to grab the liquidity yesterday. We were able to close up there, and now we're filling out the latter part of this gap zone here and breaking above the 14 and even rivaling the 72. We're still in the gap zone here. That opens up that discussion once we get to around 40 cents. And I want to talk about, we're going to jump around here a little bit today. So let's go take a look here at XRP relatively quickly. So we're seeing this push here as well, right? So we have a lot of important zones for crypto. And when we're looking at whether that's XRP grabbing liquidity here from around like $1.97 mark and using the 14-day is kind of like a bowl and spraying off of it when needed, even yesterday, coming slightly below it, but closing back up here and then having this big push today. That 272 mark, $2.72 mark is going to be really big for XRP. So it's something to watch going forward. I know a lot of you are holding XRP as well. And you see that it was a big push down here back on December 17th. And also, it was a big push down on December 4th, where we actually closed lower on the daily. So the last two tests at this number, roughly that 272 mark is that is really closing in on now, was a like I wouldn't say like a David and Goliath story, but it's definitely going to be the noteworthy if you're talking about testing the high here and going up and ultimately conquering like that $3 mark. It's going to be very important that it breaks above that with conviction. So that's something to mark and keep into your radar, because if you think about breaking above there, I know XRP is number 3 right now, but if you are looking at that and trying to gauge whether or not you should have like positions, again, this is, I believe we're relatively early. Supposed to be talking about cycles. Let me go back here. You are looking at something that is early in its cycles. Both of these, if you're talking about holding long term, because that's specifically what we kind of gauge here on the channel. So it's something to note as far as having a position, because yeah, the 288 mark, the $3 mark, just like with Doge, and let's say the 48 cents mark. Yeah, these are some of the micro targets here, but not the macro. And so when you're talking about investing, it just depends on if you're looking at having, a swing trade or doing like a leaper option. And having something where it's okay, I want to be out of this in like 6 months. So doing something similar to like a leap option in that aspect. But if you're thinking long term, these assets here, I believe they're going to be chosen by the people like we talked about earlier in the video. And I think that the numbers that we're seeing pile into these coins and the resilience and where these coins are consolidating at this cycle, despite what's going on, I think this is going to be very telling going forward. So again, the numbers that we're going to be looking for Doge here is going to be around 40 cents. Obviously, that 42 cents is going to be that battleground. This will be like the equivalent of like that 2.72 cents, of XRP. That's going to be the telling factor whether or not we go retest the high. But we do have a lower level here at around 40 cents that we were able to kind of battle with around like the previous 4 days that we were there. So that's going to be kind of like a micro target before we're talking about ascending to some of those higher levels. So that's something to note here. The beauty of this is still a gap zone where Doge is now. And if we can get that 14 across that 72, we can get a signal here and get some of these other signals to kind of co-witness that this is going to be a bump to the upside. Obviously, the more signals you have, giving like those co-witnesses, that kind of gives you the idea that this is going to be a good push and have some strength here in the momentum. For Bitcoin, we were talking about that 90 to 95,000 range, and also that 90 to 100,000 on the macros here. And this is going to be one of the things that's going to determine a lot of the liquidity coming into the market, obviously, because Bitcoin is the market leader. And we use the 72-day. And this is one of the things that we're talking about over the last few days, about the 72, which is this orange line, and the 14, and it kind of traveling within that path. But as it stays above it, obviously that path is going to narrow. So we're going to have to get a break in one direction or the other. And it looks like we have decided on higher, right? So this is something that I am really pleased with here, because this puts us in a trajectory here to go and retest around that 102,000 mark. Again, that was where we had some issues on January 7th, January 6th, and December 19th, right? So if we're talking about going and retesting some of these highs, we're going to have to start looking around around that 102,000 mark. It's been I won't say like an Achilles heel, but it's definitely something going to be to see as far as our momentum and gauge the liquidity coming into the market, because it's not necessarily a gap zone to there like we've seen with Dogecoin in that run to around 40 cents or so. But there is some extreme volatility here. But typically, and I do want to point this out for Bitcoin, if we look at the momentum here from around the 102,000 mark, most of it's been red days, right? So we were able to go retest there first, but then we got pushed down. This was December 5th, and then we saw it again on the 7th, a green day on the 6th. But typically when we break above that, which when we did, it was in smaller increments here, like we did between the 6th and I'll say the 14th. So that week there, even then that was some volatility there, because we had some bigger push downs and people taking profits. Obviously, psychological levels of 100K, people are going to take profits, but we did so in smaller increments last time. So with that being said, the reason I'm saying that is don't necessarily expect a huge candle to the upside. Not saying it can't happen, but historically that has not been the case. So typically we'll have like a run up to around 100K, and then we'll have some of those smaller volume closing days, because that 100K mark has proven to be a battle zone for Bitcoin. But with that being said, if we're hitting those numbers, ultimately that means that we can expect higher amounts of liquidity coming into the market here. So that's good for Doge, that's good for XRP, it's good for Ethereum, it's good for if you're in any of the coins in the top 10, that's typically going to be good, because those numbers typically get reflected across the board here. Let's take a look here. I want to take a look at some of the liquidity. Liquidations here coming in. So big cool off from yesterday. Long liquidations 2.3, short liquidations are higher today. So big cool off from the last 24 hours. Let's see, long short ratio still roughly 3-1, but we are dropping down a little bit here below that 75% mark on some of the smaller time frames, like the 4-hour, the 5-minute through the 4-hour, the 5:30, 1 hour, and 4 hour. Slightly below the 75% mark, but on the 1 day, obviously we're still up. So we can consult that to see if this kind of transfers over. Obviously, it's a big gap between a 4-hour and a 1 day, but it's certainly possible that we can see a continuation of this push down here. So overall, not a big deal here. It's something that we're going to have to track to see if these things are going to co-witness with some of the smaller time frames, and then we can make a decision. But price action is saying otherwise. Price action is coming in. Open interest is up over 2 billion now. That's up over $200 million from yesterday, plus 7.43%. Again, some of the numbers that we're looking at to go retest some of those cycle highs is open interest being to around 4 billion. And again, that's one of the indicators that we're looking at to co-witness with some of the things that we're seeing on the chart. which is going to give us an idea of the strength of the movement. For those of you who maybe first time on the channel, this isn't all inclusive, all the exchanges, but it does include some exchanges like Binance and Bybit. So it's something that you can use to get an idea of overall trend. But ultimately, on a macro, we're looking to get around that 4 billion mark. So with that being said, I am very pleased with the movements that we're seeing here with the XRP, Doge. I believe that we are on the verge of something unique here for 2025 and going forward. So it's something we're going to be charting here. I hope you found value in this video with this update. Please consider subscribing if you did. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Like, share the video with a friend, and I'll see you guys next time.